In Chapter 4, Arya's new life takes shape after her near-death experience. Armed with the knowledge of the future and a second chance, she begins using her intellect and cunning to change her fate. Having witnessed the consequences of her earlier actions, Arya knows she must rise above her previous weaknesses to avoid the same tragic end. Arya's first major target is her half-sister, Maya. Previously, Maya had been one of the key figures in Arya's downfall, causing her to face public humiliation and eventual death. But now, armed with knowledge of Maya's actions, Arya begins to act with intention, choosing subtlety over brute force. Instead of direct confrontation, she positions herself as a victim of unfair treatment, generating sympathy from the people around her. This victim image allows her to manipulate those with power into offering support and opportunities. Arya's charm and grace begin to attract the attention of the nobility. She doesn't just play the role of the fragile girl, but instead uses the kindness shown to her as a weapon. She maneuvers within the court by playing both the innocent and the capable young woman. Every step she takes is calculated to build relationships with influential figures. However, this shift doesn't go unnoticed by Maya, who, having previously been in control, starts to feel the growing threat Arya poses. The chapter ends with Arya gaining significant ground, but Maya's jealousy and animosity threaten to spiral out of control. In Chapter 5, Arya's transformation is further realized through her pursuit of knowledge. Arya recognizes that she needs more than just manipulation and charm to secure her future. Education becomes a key tool in her strategy. She invests time in studying subjects that will earn her respect in the court, particularly in literature, art, and other intellectual pursuits that will make her stand out. Through education, Arya plans to elevate her social position and become a more substantial presence in the eyes of those around her. This shift in priorities is not just about acquiring knowledge for personal growth, but also about manipulating the perception of her character. Arya is no longer just seen as the pampered, weak girl of the past. Instead, she begins to be seen as intelligent and resourceful, qualities that attract admiration. As Arya sharpens her mind, her interactions with others become more refined, and she effortlessly draws the attention of court members. She's careful to ensure that her charm does not outshine her intellectual abilities, thus creating a balanced image. Despite her progress, Arya's success doesn't come without resistance. Maya, feeling threatened by Arya's rise, grows increasingly suspicious. She begins to plot against Arya, attempting to undermine her by using her influence and connections. But every time Maya attempts to put a barrier in Arya's way, Arya's knowledge of future events allows her to avoid traps and move forward unharmed. The rivalry between the two sisters intensifies as Arya's rise continues, and Maya attempts to put a barrier in Arya's way. Attempts to prevent Rocco from considering a different life path. Arya's careful balance of kindness, education, and strategic relationships helps her gain favor with both the nobility and the servants. In fact, she begins winning over those who were once loyal to Maya and other enemies. Arya's intelligence becomes a weapon she uses to strengthen her position in the court, and the chapter illustrates how she's shaping her destiny. Chapter 6 marks Arya's full embrace of her newfound power and social influence. With her knowledge of the future guiding her every move, Arya's tactics become more refined. She uses her intelligence to manipulate situations and relationships to her benefit. This chapter is pivotal, as it shows Arya's strategic thinking in action. She's no longer simply trying to survive, she is actively reshaping her future. Arya's interactions with Maya become more complex. Rather than engaging in a head-to-head confrontation, Arya begins to subtly expose Maya's flaws. Using the information she's gathered, Arya sets up scenarios where Maya inadvertently discredits herself in front of the court. Arya manipulates events with finesse, ensuring that Maya's actions always seem suspect. Meanwhile, Arya carefully constructs her own public image, continuing to play the role of the innocent young woman, but now with a greater air of sophistication and intellect. While Maya tries to regain control by resorting to more direct forms of manipulation, Arya remains one step ahead. Her ability to anticipate Maya's actions and counter them makes her a formidable opponent. However, Arya's power doesn't solely rely on her intelligence. She also builds relationships with key figures in the court, strengthening her position further. These alliances prove valuable when Maya tries to isolate her, as Arya has already cultivated support from multiple sources. One significant aspect of Chapter 6 is Arya's growing ability to read people and situations. She is not just relying on her knowledge of the future anymore, she's becoming skilled at interpreting social dynamics. Arya becomes a master of court politics, able to navigate the complex web of power and influence with ease. She leverages both her intellect and social connections, making her a force to be reckoned with. Simultaneously, Arya's education and refinement continue. As she participates in social gatherings and intellectual discussions, she wins more respect from the elite. Her sharpness and grace make her an ideal match for those in power, and she begins to see the fruits of her labor. Arya's transformation into a more composed, intelligent, and strategic individual is now complete. As the chapter concludes, Arya's enemies are starting to take notice. Maya, in particular, feels increasingly cornered by Arya's success. The tension between the two sisters reaches a breaking point, and the battle for power within the family becomes even more pronounced. Arya's rise has just begun, and it's clear that the road ahead will be filled with both challenges on Anna's resolve to use her second chance effectively. After being betrayed in her past life, she now has the knowledge and foresight to avoid those same mistakes. The trauma and anguish she experienced have been powerful catalysts for her growth, giving her the emotional strength to confront the challenges ahead. The aristocratic world, full of power struggles and complex relationships, requires Anna to form strategic alliances. She interacts with key figures, understanding the social dynamics around her, and carefully selects who she can trust. Anna realizes that being isolated would not work in this world. She needs to build connections and alliances to secure her position. Visually, Anna's transformation is evident in her appearance. Gone are the signs of vulnerability that marked her previous life. Her new look, more polished and assertive, reflects her inner strength and newfound self-assurance. Her posture and attire indicate that she is no longer a helpless pawn in the game of life, but a player who controls the board. This chapter also highlights Anna's calculated nature. She does not rush into things. Instead, she carefully plans her moves, learning from the mistakes of her past. Each step is deliberate, and with her knowledge of future events, she has a significant advantage. The chapter ends with Anna preparing for the next phase of her journey, as she takes stock of the world around her and plots her next moves. The tension builds as Anna prepares for the obstacles that lie ahead. Chapter 5 takes Anna deeper into the political and social intrigues of the aristocracy. She now has to navigate not just her personal growth, but the delicate balance of power within a court that is full of ambition, jealousy, and rivalry. As she begins to form relationships, both friendships and alliances, she also encounters new enemies who seek to challenge her rise. The court, which once seemed like a space for personal revenge, is now a complex system of intrigue and strategy. Anna must deal with the various characters who critique her every move. Each interaction becomes a game of manipulation, where she uses both her intellect and her charm to outsmart those who seek to undermine her. Through strategic conversations and subtle gestures, Anna is slowly carving a place for herself among the influential figures of the court. As the relationships with her peers evolve, Anna faces the challenge of discerning true loyalty from mere convenience. Some individuals who appeared to be enemies in the past are now potential allies, and Anna must decide whom to trust and whom to betray. These moments of introspection show the emotional complexity of Anna's character. She grapples with her past wounds, the people who hurt her, and the need to move beyond old grudges. In this chapter, Anna's intelligence is the key to her survival. She proves time and again that she's not just a reactive figure, but someone who can think ahead and shape events to her will. Her relationships become a balance of power, trust, and manipulation. And Anna learns that, in the world of the elite, alliances and enmities can shift quickly. The chapter concludes with Anna having formed new alliances, though the true loyalty of these new friends remains uncertain. Her journey is far from over, and while she has made great strides, there are still many challenges ahead. The tension in the chapter suggests that her efforts to rise will not be without considerable cost. Chapter 6 marks a turning point for Anna, where her plans begin to come to fruition, but with greater challenges that test her resilience. Her efforts to gain power and influence are met with fierce opposition. Anna faces several new antagonists, each more dangerous than the last, and she realizes that her victory in the aristocratic world will not come without immense effort. The chapter starts with Anna facing obstacles that test her growing strength. Her past knowledge gives her an edge, but her enemies are also becoming more aware of her potential and start to actively thwart her. The competition is fierce, and Anna has to be smarter, more resourceful, and prepared for every eventuality. This chapter shows Anna a critical mind. At work, she's no longer relying on brute strength or mere manipulation. She is playing a sophisticated game, anticipating her adversaries' moves and outthinking them. Anna also begins to face the consequences of her actions. While her rise to power has been swift, it has also left a trail of repercussions. She is forced to deal with the fallout from her decisions, including new enemies who resent her position and those she has betrayed along the way. The weight of her choices bears heavily on her, but Anna remains determined, using these challenges as stepping stones to further her cause. Her internal struggle deepens as the chapter progresses. The more Anna succeeds, the more she has to grapple with her own identity. The person she is becoming is increasingly different from the one she was in her past life. This inner conflict is pivotal in shaping her decisions and the direction of her story. She is no longer simply driven by revenge, but is beginning to see the complexity of the world she lives in, where every victory comes at a cost. The chapter ends with a significant event that solidifies Anna's place in the power structure. But the victory is bittersweet. While Anna has achieved much, the chapter suggests that the path ahead is fraught with even more danger and uncertainty. Her enemies are only growing stronger, and the balance of power in her world is ever-changing. This sets the stage for the dramatic developments to come in the next chapters. For past mistakes and the opportunity to change her future. The chapter opens with Arya's reflection on her previous downfall and the tragic fate she faced. She decides to utilize the hourglass as a tool for her survival, ensuring that she will never fall victim to the same pitfalls again. With a keen sense of strategy, Arya focuses on gaining influence through relationships. Her first target is Maya, her half-sister and rival. Arya, now armed with her understanding of future events, begins to manipulate situations to her advantage. Her victim status becomes an asset as she manipulates others into viewing her as an innocent girl, unfairly treated by her family. This image attracts sympathy from powerful figures at court, allowing her to film herself out. Arya's careful actions and subtle manipulations create a new, more favorable social standing for herself. As she works to improve her position, she forms connections with influential figures and even some common folk, winning their loyalty. However, Maya notices the change in Arya and grows suspicious. The tension between the two sisters escalates as Maya attempts to sabotage Arya's growing influence. Despite Maya's efforts, Arya outsmarts her at every turn, carefully staying one step ahead. Arya's transformation from a weak and vulnerable girl into a person of power and influence becomes increasingly evident. The chapter sets the stage for the larger power struggle that will unfold as Arya sets her sights on solidifying her position while keeping her enemies at bay. In Chapter 5, Arya continues her calculated rise through the ranks of society, using her newfound knowledge to craft a path towards success. Now that she's secured some initial support, she realizes that to secure her future, she must be more than just a passive player in her own story. Education becomes one of her primary tools. Arya understands that knowledge, especially in the form of art and literature, will grant her the gravitas needed to elevate her status among the elite. Arya's pursuit of knowledge is not just for personal growth, but also a means to build credibility in front of those who may doubt her abilities. Her quick wit and sharp mind begin to impress those around her, allowing her to earn respect from both high-ranking individuals and the servants of the estate. While many in the palace consider her just a mere girl of noble birth, Arya's cultivation of intellect and charm reveals a side of her that others had not expected. Simultaneously, Arya works on strengthening her relationships with those who serve her family. By treating the servants with kindness and generosity, she ensures that they remain loyal to her. Their support becomes instrumental in her plans, and Arya's understanding of social dynamics allows her to gain the trust of those in the household. Maya, feeling threatened by Arya's rise, becomes increasingly frustrated. Maya's jealousy grows as she notices Arya's new allies and the subtle shifts in her favor. However, despite Maya's attempts to sabotage Arya through indirect means, Arya continues to thrive. She uses her intellect and charm to maintain control, securing herself a place in the court as a figure to be reckoned with. This chapter is pivotal in Arya's journey as she moves from mere survival to actively shaping her future. Chapter 6 sees Arya refining her social image and continuing to manipulate situations to her benefit. By now, she has become more adept at using the knowledge from her past life to avoid the mistakes that led to her downfall. Arya's charm and intelligence become her primary weapons as she begins to expose Maya's weaknesses to others. Instead of confronting Maya directly, Arya uses subtle, calculated moves to undermine her sister's reputation. The key to Arya's growing influence lies in her ability to read the room and adjust her strategies accordingly. At social gatherings, she makes sure to present herself as knowledgeable and graceful, winning over those who previously saw her as nothing more than a fragile, spoiled girl. Arya's success at these events builds her credibility, making it harder for her detractors to dismiss her. Arya also begins to build her education in earnest, spending time studying subjects that will make her more appealing to the court's elite. Her quick wit and refined demeanor begin to win her favor, and she is invited to more exclusive gatherings, which further solidifies her position. Arya's reputation transforms from one of pity to one of admiration. However, as Arya's influence grows, so does Maya's animosity toward her. Maya tries to create obstacles for Arya, but the latter always manages to stay one step ahead. Arya's ability to stay calm and composed in the face of adversity helps her weather every storm. As the chapter progresses, Arya's reputation improves, and she begins to form connections with individuals who hold power in the court. Arya also continues to win over the servants and lower-ranking officials, ensuring that she has allies in every corner of the estate. These allies will prove crucial in her larger plans. By the end of the chapter, Arya's future looks more secure than ever, but it's clear that the rivalry between her and Maya is far from over. Her interactions with others become more refined, and she effortlessly draws the attention of court members. She's careful to ensure that her charm does not outshine her intellectual abilities, thus creating a balanced image. Despite her progress, Arya's success doesn't come without resistance. Maya, feeling threatened by Arya's rise, grows increasingly suspicious. She begins to plot against Arya, attempting to undermine her by using her influence and connections. But every time Maya attempts to put a barrier in Arya's way, Arya's knowledge of future events allows her to avoid traps and move forward unharmed. The rivalry between the two sisters intensifies as Arya's rise continues and Maya attempts to put a barrier in Arya's way.